Morning, Joe.
Hey Sherman, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. I mean, we got kind of colder weather here in the Okanagan, but that's offset by the warm, beautiful nature of Outcrop gold and silver stock price.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, that's my job. I mean, it's been an absolutely remarkable week. I mean, I'm here with Joe Hebert, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Outcrop Silver and Gold. What a tremendous job you've done, Joe. I think prior to us hitting record on this, you said that you thought this was maybe one of the highest market caps you've seen with the company since you joined.
Yep, that's always good.
And that's something to be proud of. I mean, I think in many ways, we're just getting started, and with all the great news that's come out with Outcrop, and I thought we would touch on a couple things today. One is just to get a real nice update from you, because I know you've been busy, since our last call, and and I also, I guess I was going to ask you this question. I mean, and I'm sure you've been watching what's been happening well, I know you've been watching what's happening with gold and precious metals, but in particular, I'd love to get your comments. There was a speech recently at the Brookings Institute in Washington where Powell, strongly hinted that he's ready to downshift, I think is the quote unquote, to smaller interest rates hikes. And this could happen as soon as the next Fed meeting scheduled for December 13 and 14. Well, the market reaction was extremely swift. The US dollar tanked and gold and silver and mining shares, took off. And in that particular day, I think gold was up like, $56, and obviously so was silver. So, you've been in this business longer than I have, and I just want to get your view, and because what the sentiment is that if the federal government is waking up, and they're going to slowly bring back out the punch bowl, if you will, that's remarkably good for the entire economy, and very good for gold and silver. So thought I would ask you that, and then secondly is just this kind of give us an update on Outcrop Silver and Gold with you got a pending significant event coming up with your resource, and so I'm with Joe Hebert, CEO of Outcrop Silver and Gold, and over to you, Joe.
I always put in a disclaimer about macroeconomics and prices, silver prices, but because I'm thankfully for everyone, I'm a technical guy. I'm a geologist, probably one of the best in the world. But what I look at and what I finally see some movement on is gold silver ratios. I think even in the last 3 months, it's a notable decrease of gold to silver. I think from in excess of 90 to 1 to starting to approach 80 to 1.
Yeah,
if it just comes down to 60 to 1, 70 to 1, and you see a little increase in gold. But even at this old gold price, you start pushing 26, $28 silver. So that's what the curve is doing right now. So if gold goes up and the ratio goes down, it's entirely possible to see $30 silver in the medium term.
Just on that note, Joe, is it not? I mean, historically, the ratio has been way better, like as much as 30 to 1, which would imply, a very high price of silver. But I guess maybe that'd be wishful thinking. But I think historically, over long periods of time, it's way lower than 90 to or 80 to 1.
Yeah. Also, I was looking at that, doing a little bit of researching on that, and the last 4 times the ratio hit over 90 to 1. I don't have a frame of reference for the exact timing, but about approximately the last 4 times that the ratio hit above 90 to 1, there was a correction, like every time between, and it was then there was a comeback on the silver price between 30% and 300%. So it's whatever it measures something. It measures something, across the spectrum of how people value stuff. But it's just when that happens, it tends to happen in a rush, and it tends to be a significant difference.
Sure.
And then silver, it's they're projecting shortages now because of solar panel and EV use, and it's just a good time to have a good silver play.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And the other thing is, I mean, people have their checklist about investing, but it's a really small pool of companies with an extremely high quality discovery, and they're right at approaching. They're right next. They're about to do a major catalyst, which could be a significant re-rating of the stock uh, based on that resource report we're about to put out. So, I mean, you can make some simple comparisons to BlackRock. You can make some comparisons to Dolly Varden, and especially if you look at our potential grade, I mean, we can see a market cap gain of between 50 and 300% just by comparing to other companies.
Yeah, that's very compelling, and you're 100% right. And we've often tried to build the awareness with investors that number one, take a look at the overall sector, which obviously we're making a very strong argument for owning silver. I mean, you as an investor could just go out and buy silver bullion and store it in your, I don't know, silver is quite heavy, but to buy $50,000 worth of silver, you got a storage concerns and different things of the sort. Plus, then your rate of return is going to be based on what the price of silver does. So first of all, pick the right sector, which is silver. But rather than buying the bullion, buy a company that's deeply undervalued. And it's stunning how low stock prices can go when people are not paying attention or having a pessimistic viewpoint. So it wasn't that long ago you could buy Outcrop at 15, 20 cents, and now we're trading for 40 cents. So investors can invest in the silver market, own shares in a company run by very capable people like Outcrop Silver, and this stock could go from 40 cents to a couple bucks. I mean, it's got those kind of potential if we continue to unearth all these additional resources. So that's the play, if you will. But that play can be done, in a relatively safe way if you do your homework and find a good company like Outcrop, which is, why we've got you on this call.
Yeah, and no one can steal it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know Sherman, if you looked, if you noticed the release we did on the recovery work or on the processing metallurgy work we did for the resource report.
Yeah, I sure did.
God, just knocked it out of the park. It's
just kind of like you thought.
The project's charmed.
Well, I mean, that's what investors want to hear. And I mean, I think, layered overall on top of, picking the right asset class like silver, and then picking the right individual company like Outcrop Silver and Gold. We've talked in previous calls about the jurisdiction in Colombia. And, I think people are, you've given some great advice, Joe, guiding us through the election and guiding us through the internal, what's happening in Colombia versus some of the political rhetoric. And any updates from your point of view on that, on Colombia?
No, Gustavo Petro, the president, and Miss Alvarez, the minister of mines, it's a consistent message. We're not anti-mining. We want to participate in the transition to the new energy economy, and whether they do that internally or whether they do that by export, strategic metals for that transition energy economy are silver, copper, and nickel, and a few others. But I mean, silver is a huge component, arguably more than copper for some uses, especially with respect to its supply. And then the other thing is as a populist, I really do think Mr. Pestro is sincere when he says he does believe that exploration companies, mining companies, can bring benefits to opportunities deprived communities, and they want socially and environmentally responsible mining, and we really, that's what we are conveying and trying to illustrate to the government, is that's what we are. So I would have some cautions, about certain projects, open pit projects. Not that they won't be permitted, but they're more difficult. So being on a extremely high grade silver underground project with rather minimal environmental footprint, with great integration and advocacy on the part of the community. I just think we're going to continue like status quo going forward, and there's never been any objection to our drilling for the last 2.5 years, and we don't anticipate any objections, and I think Colombia for us is completely acceptable and encouraging jurisdiction.
Well, we're seeing it across the board. I mean, Outcrop, of course, has been one of the star performers from a stock market point of view, but there's other names, other quality names that are also, certainly moving up in terms of market cap and recognition. And I guess to close, Joe, first of all, thanks so much for taking this time with me this morning. But just maybe talk a little bit about the big catalyst that we're all excited about with respect to the resource.
Yeah, we're working hand in glove with Micon International. I've made 2 trips to Toronto. We want to make sure it's the estimation process is appropriate to the deposit. I think we're still on track for the end of the year, or at least plus or minus a week from January 1. If it's into Christmas, we'll wait. But we still are bullish about internal guidance of 50 million ounces at in excess of 550 to 750 grams. And if we hit that higher end of our internal guidance, we're going to be. I mean, I think there's 2 companies or 2 mines or companies with primary silver resources that are above 600 grams silver equivalent per ton out of almost 30. So you're in better than the upper 20th percentile on grade with respect to Santa Ana, or have every expectation that that's where we'll be.
Well, we really look forward to that. I mean, it just puts the icing on the cake, if you will. And again, what an incredible story, and just fantastic work to you and your entire team, and great to follow up with you. And I had a wonderful time with you and Kathy Lee in Beaver Creek. And I think that laid the foundation for bringing in some great shareholders, and I can say right now some very happy shareholders. So have a great weekend. So. Have a great weekend.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Sherman. Thanks so much. Good to see you again.
Great to see you.